Hello and welcome to another model building workshop, and today we're going to look at a couple of different manufacturers and their take on the Hawker Harrier. So we got one here from Tamiya, and we have another one here from Monogram. So we have a look at both of these, kind of do a little comparison of what's in the box. So this is the Tamiya one. This particular boxing comes from 1971. This kit's been sitting around a while, and I've got these because these are a couple of kind of like flea market finds. You know, this was like a $5 one, and I think the other one's like a $4 one. I'll take a look in a moment, get a closer look at that price tag. But yeah, you can pick these up at some good model shows and sales, and that's what I did here, and hoping to do these with some kids at the Smithfield Library, which is where we are right now. We're in the basement of the library, and we're doing this video on behalf of the Community Libraries of Providence. Yeah. So, and do excuse any road construction noises because it's summer and there's lots of things happening. So, let's take a look at this guy. This is the Tamiya Harrier GR Mark I. And the Harrier, as you probably know, is the vertical takeoff and landing aircraft. It's one of those you can lift off this way and then it can change direction. So it's a very interesting aircraft. A little bit of the box has some interesting things to say here. Vertical short takeoff and landing. So it means that you can take off vertically and you can land on very short runways. Yeah, it's got a nice nozzle system. It has on takeoff, the 4 nozzles would point down to launch it up, and then they would change direction to the plane to take off. So here's the instruction sheet, which looks like it's a little damaged. This thing's been sitting around a while. And it's got the typical Tamiya style instruction sheet with a nice information bit here and photos. This is an interesting twist, is they've got this great schematic here. I haven't seen them do that before. That's interesting. Here's the instruction, the breakdown here, working with the pilot and painting instructions, and working on the engines and the interior. Yeah, you can see there's some holes. This instruction sheet is a bit mangled, but still workable. And you get all kinds of different things to work on here. The landing gear. It tells you, need to put some decals on during the assembly process, which I've run into this a few times with fighter jets, so it's not uncommon, because if you want to get the pods and everything on there and the underwing armament, you kind of have to get the decals down before you put that stuff over it, Can't really put them on afterwards. Found out the hard way in one case. And here's your final assembly bits there. You can see that some of this was cut off. I don't know what happened there. All the different underwing armament, which they give you quite a bit. Things to choose from, which is kind of nice. And you get a couple of painting options for Great Britain and the U.S. Marines here. Britain was the chief user of this aircraft, and its most famous moments were during the Falklands War back in, I think, '82, where these planes did quite well against the Argentine Air Force fighters at the time, because one of the things that these things could do is they could maneuver. So if they found themselves being chased by like a Mirage fighter plane, these could hit reverse and suddenly end up behind the Mirage. Yeah, so the dogfights are quite interesting when you're trying to tackle one of these things, because you don't know which direction or where it's going to end up. Being an old kit, it also comes with one of these ancient catalogs, which are kind of fun to look at. I always enjoy looking at these things. Yeah, so from the 70s, they're promoting these kits. And some of these are still around, and some of these aren't, or harder to find. You can see a nice version of the Harrier there. Oof. One of the challenges when you buy some of these flea market finds is you may get a situation like this with these decals. Clearly have seen better days, and they're probably probably not going to work too well, but the parts will work. Yeah, I'm going to open that up and tackle that later because that looks and you get the fuselage halves, which aren't bad. I mean, you could tell this is an older kit. I mean, there's some recessed lines and a lot of these are actually not recessed, kind of jutting out. So some of the details are mixed, which you can expect that for a kit this old. And here are your wings and all of the different armament options you've got there, from rocket pods and gas tanks. You've got your canopy in here. You've got that old glue in there, that's going to be a relic. Not even going to attempt to open that. See a lot of stuff there. Yeah. So what's nice with this is the options, all the number of underwing armament choices. Decals are clearly shot. So maybe even source those. So I'm going to look at and see what the Monogram one has, and maybe we can do a bit of sharing or cannibalizing. We will see. All right, so here's the Monogram one. And I believe this dates from '81, about 10 years later. This one says it's like 10 and up, yeah, 1981, it's right on the box. Now let's see what this is 14. I doubt I paid that. I'm sure I got a better deal than that out of this. Not that I wouldn't pay 14, but knowing me, I probably didn't. So their instruction sheets are a bit different. Shorter write-up. Here's your painting call-outs down here. And they list them, in this case, they actually just name the colors, which is interesting, because a lot of these companies later on just give you so-and-so paint brand and then the number, or a federal standard number without any name. So this one gives you the color that they want without any reference to which manufacturer of paint you get. There's pros and cons to that, because sometimes it's not easy to tell what the exact paint would be. So the instructions are broken down very differently here. So Monogram is looking for you to do some simple, short steps. Which doesn't look too bad. Let's get on to the other half here. So it's got a very different approach from the Tamiya one. This looks like it might be more kid-friendly. But we'll see when you start assembling. And let's look at the underwing options. So it looks like you've got, you've got a few, maybe not. Looks like you've got, a bomb and a Sidewinder missiles, what's looking like this is going to carry. So I don't think there's options with this. I think you just have what they give you, and that's it. Yeah, there's the copper glass, your painting instructions. There's a couple of options here. Again, you're going to get a, looks like a marine version, and Royal Air Force, I believe. Don't think it's Royal Navy. So you have those two options. All right, I take it back, because here we go. The painting instructions give you the names and an FS number, so that's handy, so you get both. So that kind of helps. Picking out your colors. I'm kind of curious about the decals, if they were doing the same. Let's take a look. These are the same aircraft. Well, they're very close. This was XV 776, and theirs is XV 788. So pretty much very, very similar squadron numbers. Marines one. I'm just seeing if they're how similar they are. All right, they're not the same, but they're very close. All right, let's look at the parts. I'm going to start with a decal sheet, which this one, luckily, is immaculate. So this helps, because if we're going to do both of these kits, we have the two sets, so we could do, you know, one of each. So we have enough to do both of these kits. Just one's going to be American and one's going to be British. But they look like they're in great shape. Well cared for in this bag here. And the parts look to be in pretty good shape. So here you go with your wheels, and here's the bomb here. Get out of the way here so you can see the detail. Not bad. Did have mixed feelings about Monogram. But on the other hand, I have great memories from building them as a kid. I did always enjoy doing these. They're probably not up to the snuff of some of the more modern manufacturers that are out there, but this was the American staple that we all grew up on here in the US. This is Revell. And okay, so there's a difference here with the details. These are all raised lines. There's no recessed panel lines. They're all raised. Yeah, pretty much everything is. Like, you could feel it. Wing piece here. This box is also showing signs of water damage. The other fuselage half here. Engine point there. A lot of loose pieces in the box too, though, which is it can be worrisome. You can make sure everything's there. All right, here's the glasses here. There's your Sidewinder missiles. Pilot's arm is sitting there. Size of the detail is, I don't know. There's better, but this isn't terrible. Add some paint there. I think that'll look all right. It's kind of up to what you do with it too, you know. But my purpose was to get a couple of inexpensive kits that some kids can work on, and I think on that regard I've succeeded. And it looks like that has a refueling probe. What's the deal with that? Yeah, it does. Seems to be an optional piece if you want the refueling probe on there. Drain flight refueling. Yeah, they don't both have it. It's something you could do if you wanted to. So yeah, Taylor 2 aircraft, very different assembly styles to it, which I think is interesting. You know, different types of instructions, different types of assembly styles. intriguing how two different companies approach the same topic. Yeah, I always find that interesting. Yeah, so there's pros and cons to them, and we'll see how the kids do with these. This one, I still think this is going to be the simpler one. There's less options too, and Tamiya one has more choices for underwing armament, which is, for the right kid, that'd be great. Kids that want to experiment and try different things, they can with this one, whereas others could get confused with all of that. Sometimes they don't like that many options, but very similar, because they both kind of have low parts count. And I think they're going to be fun to try out. All right, so that's today's model building workshop, and we hope to see you guys real soon.